Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all doing well. My name is Tanner Dagenais, and I'm the host of Self-Sabotage Solutions. Today, I'm very excited because we'll be sharing information about why we self-sabotage, what is self-sabotage, and how to overcome self-sabotage. And this information is very powerful information. I know so because it changed my life, and it's changed countless other people's lives as well. So if you've been sabotaging yourself, if you've been working towards a goal, maybe eating healthier, starting to work out, um, getting a new job, getting a promotion, getting a raise, starting your own side business, reading a book, asking someone out, whatever it may be, and you keep doing the opposite, there's a reason why. And it's very important you understand why, because once you understand why, you realize that there's not something broken within inside of you. You're working exactly as you're designed, and that you have a way forward. And that's the good news, is that there is very concrete path towards the life that you do want, towards achieving your goals. So instead of wanting to eat healthy and reaching for the ice cream tub, and counteracting all the healthy eating you just did, instead of buying a gym membership and never going, you can actually commit to those goals, actually start moving, making progress on them. And it's going to be some very great information that you can use without, most of it without even spending any money. So that's the best part, is that you already have pretty much everything you need within inside you, or with you currently. So first, let's just talk about self-sabotage. I kind of explained what self-sabotage is already. I was with a couple examples, but really realistically, self-sabotage is any action, any thought, any really thing that you do that will lead you away from your goals, lead you away from the life that you do want, and will bring you towards the life that you don't want. It will bring you towards the life where you're going to be unhappy, when you're going to be broke, we're going to be depressed, we're going to be sick all the time, we're going to have low energy, we're going to feel upset because you're in a relationship you don't like, and you're with a toxic partner, or you're working at a job you hate, right? So many of us are in these situations. It's because we sabotaged ourselves. And I want to be very clear. It's not because you're conscious were like, yeah, I don't want this, I don't deserve this, I'm gonna sabotage myself and choose this instead, right? Because consciously, and this is the part of your mind, the conscious mind. When I say consciously, there's two parts to your mind: the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious mind, that's the part of your mind that holds your dreams, your goals, your aspirations. This part of your mind um, is logical, right? It can reject information. It can say, no, this thing is bad for me, this thing is good for me. So this part of your mind knows that, hey, maybe, downing on this ice cream is not the best idea. It knows that, hey, I should probably work out if I want to be healthy. If I want to, get muscular, if I don't want to gain a bunch of weight. Hey, I should probably work on my side business, or work on trying to apply for a different job, or building my skills if I don't want to be in this job I hate forever, right? This part of your mind knows, hey, I shouldn't be dating this person or anyone like him because they're abusive towards me, they're toxic towards me, they say very hurtful things to me, they try to control me, right? But so why does it happen then if this part of your mind knows? Well, because the majority of the time, 90 to 95% of the time, your thoughts, your actions, your urges, your cravings, those are coming from your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind works completely different. And this part of your mind, oftentimes you don't realize it's working when it really is. This part of your mind is working 24/7. This part of your mind takes in just all information. It doesn't reject a thing. So not like your conscious mind where it can be like, hey, this is bad or good. Your subconscious mind doesn't understand that. It just says, this is data. Let's bring it in and observe the data afterwards. And what does it do with this data that it's scanning at 11 million pieces of information per second, right? 11 million pieces of information per second. And to put that into perspective for you, your conscious mind's only 40 pieces of information per second, meaning that your subconscious mind is much more powerful at bringing in data points, to observe situations, to see what is going on in your environment, and to pick up on cues that you may not be consciously picking up on, right? So it sees things in like TV shows and movies. It sees things when you're driving down the street. It picks up on things and sounds that we may not consciously hear, like things that are in our peripheral view, things that are pretty quiet, things that just we want to be able to pick up on because we only pick up on 40 pieces of information per second. So what I like to equivalent the subconscious mind to is like a supercomputer because it has so much processing power, and it works kind of the same way where it collects a bunch of data and it stores it on a hard drive, and it stores it on your hard drive. And what it does with this data is it decides what is the safest thing for me to do today based on the data points I collected. What is the safest thing for me to do? Right. So what does that mean? Safest thing. Well, oftentimes it's the most familiar because what your subconscious mind sees as familiar, it sees as safe because it's learned over thousands of years that the best way to fit in with society, the best way to survive is to fit in with society. Because in the past, if you would have been exiled out of your tribe, your chances of survival go way down if you're on your own, right? Not just in general in life. If you don't have as many people with you, then you're not as likely to survive. Now, in today's age, it may not be as true because we have grocery stores, we have all these things, right? But in the past, it was very true. Your subconscious mind is still working that exact way due to the way that it's evolved over so many years. And so, what you need to know is that this part of your mind is taking certain actions, thinking, providing you certain thoughts, which I call automatic native thoughts or reoccurring thoughts. Those thoughts that pop up, and you're like, where did this thought come from? How come I can't get this thought out of my mind? It keeps coming back. You know, no matter what, everything I try, this thought keeps coming back. Is there something wrong with me? Do I have depression? Right. This part of your mind is doing that because it's found that this information is the most familiar in your life, meaning that negativity, if it's negative thought, is very familiar in your life. And it could be from TV shows, could be from movies, from the people around you, from things you've experienced in your life. So the more familiar something is the safer that thing is going to be to your subconscious mind, meaning that it's going to likely play. And what I like to think of it as like a little card. So imagine it's kind of like Uno or whatever, right? You have different cards and you can play certain cards at a certain time, meaning that if you play this card, it's the safe card you can fit in with society. And there's different levels of safe card, right? So you might have a safe card that's relatively safe. You might have a super safe card and an ultimate safe card, right? Um, and how it varies this is one, if it's how familiar it is. One, if it's another one, two, if it's coming from an authority figure. So that could be a parent, could be a government official, could be a doctor, could be a teacher, could be a coach, could be any of these things. Anyone you perceive as an authority figure, your subconscious mind will rank that thing higher, right? Rank it higher on the safe card. So it'll be higher up on the safe card list. Like the safer option to do, essentially, right? So another thing that it's going to relate as something safe to do is if it sees a group of people doing something. So the more people that are doing something, the more likely that you're going to be doing that same thing, right? That's why peer pressure works. That's why sports, so many people kind of get so into sports because there's a whole group of people. You can become friends with people. You can join a whole team of people who support the same team, right? You can become part of that team almost. So that's why sports is, people are so drawn to sports, and people are so drawn to just friendship, and it's so easy to kind of succumb to the peer pressure because that's how our mind works. That's gonna be a safer thing, and then your subconscious mind like, yeah, let's do this. Everyone's doing it. Everyone else is doing it. We should do it as well, right? Another one is if you see someone get positive reinforcement for something. So if they did something like eat um, candy or ice cream or something, and someone's like, "Oh, good job, you did amazing," right? Someone would be like, "Oh yeah, that's a good thing to do." Your subconscious mind like that's another good thing to do. People like when I do that, right? That's awesome. And what do we do at birthday parties? We have cake. What do we do on holidays? We have sweets, right? So we're programming our minds with these things. And hey, we have sweets. We have these things when we're celebrating, when you're having good times. And oftentimes when people are having bad times, they have the same kind of programming. Oh, I need sweets. I need something else to make me feel better, right? Feeling stress. Oh, I need something to relieve that stress. So there's different kinds of programming. And the next thing that will make something actually de-rank it from being safe is if people are getting ridiculed for doing it. So if someone is doing something, they're getting called a conspiracy theorist. If they're getting called stupid, if they're get called, made fun of, you're less likely to do that thing because that's just the way your subconscious mind works. So really, those things are the main reasons why or how your subconscious mind is going to be rating something as safe. Um, so it goes again. These are the different ways that your mind will consider them safe. Repetition. So the more familiar something is to you, um, if an authority figure does it, so parent, teacher, guardian, um, doctor, government official, whatever may be, right? If someone gets positive reinforcement for something, if something gets negative reinforcement, it'll put it down lower on the list. And that's the way you can kind of think about it. So what things in your life have gone to these things? And it's fun to play this game where you're being more aware of these things. And that's really one of the first steps to overcoming self-sabotage and to addressing your self-sabotage, to start becoming more aware of how you're being influenced and how your subconscious mind is working. So that's why understanding how your subconscious mind works is so powerful, because then you can just be like, oh wait, I'm getting influenced towards something negative here. I'm going to be creating what I like to call programs. And I'll explain what programs are in a moment. They're kind of like habits. We're creating these programs that are causing me in my subconscious mind to go down this path when really I want to go down this other path, like working out instead of sitting on the couch watching Netflix all day, right? So, what are these programs? Because I just mentioned this. So, programs, you can think again with the analogy of your subconscious mind being a supercomputer. What kind of things do you have on your computers normally, or your phones, right? You have applications or programs, those are the same things, right? So these things, programs, applications, have a set function, and when you run them, they do something, right? Subconscious mind has the same kind of thing. When these programs get pulled online when they are needed to do something. So we have programs. Not all programs are bad or good things. We have programs to learn how to drive a car. Remember the first time you learned how to drive a car and you're like, "Whoa, this feels unfamiliar. Where's all these things? What's this thing do? What does this thing do? Oh, it turns on the lights. Oh, it turns on the washers. Oh, that's the parking brake." Right? We had to learn all these things, and at first it wasn't very comfortable. Do you remember driving for the first time using the brake and the gas, and it was all jerky? Um, and if you had to learn stick shift, it's probably even worse because you had to learn extra information, right? Your subconscious mind didn't have that program pre-built into it. And essentially what people refer to as like muscle memory, right? Your subconscious mind didn't have that program already built in. So it had to learn it. Now, once you learned how to drive a car and you've done it, you can, you know, now you can drive a car without even thinking about it for the most part, right? You don't have to worry too much about, oh, where's this? You're just automatically go to the lights. You don't have to worry about where's the brake or how hard to press the brake. You're already doing it naturally, right? Because you have that program already built in. So subconsciously you can be doing that, and consciously you may be thinking about, what are you going to be doing after work? What are you going to be doing at work? What are you going to be eating tonight for dinner? What the conversation you just had with your significant other, the conversation you just had with your friend, or what happened last night, right? You're thinking about these other things while you're driving, um, and yet you're still driving, right? Without having to focus on it. Imagine if you were tried doing that when you first started, you probably would have ran into a car or ran into a pole if you were in a parking lot, right? So there's programs for all kinds of things like brushing your teeth, riding a bike, but there's also programs for things that may not be as good, right? Because unfortunately, once again, your subconscious mind does not reject information, and it creates these programs out of just the most familiar data. And so it'll create, I don't know, a program for negative thinking. So if you have a lot of negative thoughts, it's because you have a program built for that. If you have a lot of urges to eat ice cream or to eat junk food or to, pig out on certain kinds of foods, you have a program built into that. And that's why I said these are a lot like habits, because that's really what habits are, is different programs. And so breaking a habit, as you know, can be difficult. And that's because your subconscious mind has these programs and has been taught this information. So just question, obviously you won't be able to answer me, but think about this in your head. If your subconscious mind learned these programs because they were most familiar, because they had all these different safe, safety rankings, um, like if it's an authority figure and whatnot, right? And it was a group or not, then how do you think you could reprogram your subconscious mind? Thinking about that, if the more familiar something is to you, the more likely your subconscious mind is to do it. And if you have authority figures and group people, what do you think is a good way to reprogram your subconscious mind? So if you thought about, well, I should probably make something else what I want in my life more familiar. I should probably hang out with people who do the same kind of thing. I should probably watch some authority figures, maybe some coaches, some podcasts, some speakers, read some books from people who are talking about the things that I want in my life, right? And start to minimize the other things that are leading me towards the other path, right? Because that's the way you're going to make something more familiar in your life and thus a safer option for your subconscious mind. And then you'll be going down that path instead naturally. And that's how you can overcome self sabotage. Because really, what self sabotage is, now that you know what the subconscious mind is and what the conscious mind is, self sabotage is when you have a conscious goal. You have a goal of eating healthy. You have a goal of working out. You have a goal of not dating someone like that again, right? Someone who's toxic, who's abusive. But your subconscious mind has a whole nother goal. So when you're going down the road, like, oh yeah, I'm going to stop dating someone like that. I'm going to start eating healthier. I'm going to start working out. Your subconscious, you run into a wall. It's your subconscious mind, right? And your subconscious mind is not the bad guy here. It's just working how it's designed. It's just it's just a supercomputer, right? The reality is that you're the programmer, or you're supposed to be the person who's programming it. Um, you're supposed to be the one who can prevent it. The problem is we're not taught this information. So I don't blame you for not knowing this, for this happening in your life, and I don't want you to blame yourself. But now that you know, you can understand that you're the one who has the ability consciously to stop putting those negative influences in your life and just start putting in better influences. So that way, instead of your subconscious mind running to that wall that's your subconscious mind, your subconscious mind is like, hey, you should do this. Hey, you should do this. This is the best path. This is the path that you should be taking. And when I'm talking about paths, it makes me think of a very common phrase. Nature goes down the path of least resistance, right? Nature's always going down the path of least resistance. So why is that relevant to what we're talking about with the subconscious mind? Well, what's the path of least resistance? It's often the path in regards to self-sabotage in the subconscious mind that's the most familiar. It's often the path that has the most positive association with it. It's often the path that has authority figures saying, oh, that's a good thing to do. It often has a path that has more group mentality, more people around you are doing it, right? It becomes easier for you to do because, well, hey, I'm fitting in. Everyone else is doing it. I should do it too. And um, that's really the way your subconscious mind works. So if you want to change paths that your subconscious mind works, because really what you can think about is that there's one point in your head, a brain neuron is what it is, and it's connected to another brain neuron. So whenever you encounter in a situation, maybe where you're feeling sad, where you're feeling excited, where you're feeling like you need to celebrate, your subconscious mind has a little brain neuron is like, hey, we were feeling sad. Oh, when we're feeling sad, we've had a lot of programming to decide that we should probably eat unhealthy, make ourselves feel better, have some sweets. Let's go reach for that ice cream tub, right? Oh, hey, I just got promoted. Hey, I should go have a drink. Yeah, I can celebrate. And your subconscious mind has that brain neuron, that pathway towards drinking. And that's really what it is. And then if you start to go away from drinking, your subconscious mind is like, hey, we got this program here. It's trying to tell us to go here. Let's encourage them consciously to want to do this. So let's put in a little bit of urges, of cravings. Let's put some thoughts in there. Let's put some images. Let's do anything we can to get them to go down that safe path, because To the subconscious mind, it's an act of self-love. It's like, hey, I'm trying to keep you as safe as possible here. I want you to survive. And the good news is that you are alive right now, right? Um, and the subconscious mind is really, really important that it does this job when we're kids, because when we're kids, that's our main goal, is to survive, to make it to adulthood where we can start to make our own decisions. The problem is that we're not taught this information when we're adults, so we don't know that been programmed, that we operate this way. We don't know how to stop influencing ourselves towards our worst life. We don't know that we are even the programmer of our own mind in this instance, in this capacity. In my opinion, we should be taught this information when we're kids, when we're, um, teenagers, when we're in high school, when we're in middle school, when at least at some point, it's the most powerful part of your mind, in that capacity where it's able to influence our daily actions and thoughts. Where 90 to 95% of our daily thoughts and actions and urges come from this part of the mind. How can we not be taught about this part of our mind when it's literally such an important part? And that is a really big thing I have a problem with within our society. And I do believe it's by design. We won't really get into that portion. Well, maybe briefly. Um, so why would I think it's part of design? Well, if we don't know this information, and obviously people know this information because it's been out there for years and years and years. Like the Stoics have talked about this information. People back in 1920s talked about this information. It's not a secret, right? So many people talk about this subconscious mind information. It's getting more and more popular now, which is great, because the more people that know this information, the more people that can break free from the cycle of self-sabotage and start to achieve more of their dreams and goals, and start to realize that there's nothing wrong with them, that they've been programmed negatively, and that's why they're doing these negative things. And so when you understand this information, that's where you can take back your power. That's when you can remember who you are, what your purpose is, and how you can start to program yourself for your best life. And so this is exactly what I teach people to do, because I learned from someone, his name is Jason Christoff, and I'm very grateful that he created his self-sabotage coaching school and I was able to learn from him. Because when I learned this information before it, I wanted to stop drinking. I wanted to start eating healthier. I wanted to stop smoking marijuana. I wanted to stop playing as much video games. And I would always find myself doing these things again. No matter how much I tried, I kept going back to them. And I felt like there was something broken with inside me. I thought like there was something wrong with me. But the good news is that there was nothing wrong with me. I was working exactly how I was designed. If you're in the same situation, obviously it might be different things you're sabotaging yourself with, different things that you might have different goals. But if you're in that same situation where you keep going back to the same old thing, I want you to know there's nothing wrong with you. You're working exactly as you're designed. But now that you know this information, you can change how you're programming yourself. You can change how you're interacting with your subconscious mind. You can change, therefore, you can change your actions. Therefore, you can change your future. And that's the best part, is that you can take action today with this information you have right now by just being more consciously aware. When you're about to do an action, when you're about to go hang out with people, when you're about to watch a TV show or a movie, think about what messages are in this movie. What messages are in this TV show? What are the people who I'm hanging out with? How are they influencing me? Think about, how is my thoughts influencing me? Because your thoughts, the things you tell yourself, is very important too. You know, so you need to be aware of that. If you're always beating yourself up, that's more programming negatively. But who are the people in your life who are authority figures? How have they been programming you? What is your parents like? What kind of self-sabotage did they do? Right? Be aware of those sorts of things. And you can maybe start to piece it together as to why you're sabotaging the way you are. And then you can start removing those influences and start adding in new influences. It's important to cut out the negative ones. So that way, when you're starting to put in the positive influences, you can actually change what's familiar in your life. Because if you keep having all those negative influences as well, those things are still going to be more familiar, than the positive ones, right? Because you have to cut those ones out so that way the new familiar is the positive. Is essentially the things that you want in your life, right? Because that's what's going to be positive, referred to what I refer to as positive. So if you're looking to get more information on this, make sure you check out my other podcasts. I have so many podcasts where I share information that you can literally use to change your life. That you can use as techniques, as methods to be able to continue this train of thought that I've been sharing with you, so that you can overcome self sabotage in your life. If you want encouragement, or if you want to hear other people's stories, I've interviewed a lot of different people who have shared their self sabotage story. What they were self sabotaging with, how they were able to overcome it, and they share how you can do the same in them. It's some great information. I really love listening to these stories because they're always so powerful, always so relatable, and they always kind of open your eyes to, like, hey, this person went through so much, and I'm here where I am. That gives me motivation that I can do the same, right? Because they made it out through the other side. They made it out through the other side despite what they've been through. That's why I love sharing those stories. And then I just have a bunch of information that I'm sharing. Of course, if you want to work with me one on one, I'd be more than happy to, because for me in my life, of course, this information was powerful. But I think the main thing that helped me, if I would have just learned this information by itself without working with someone, I don't think it would have been quite as powerful. But I was able to work with someone one on one. When I worked with them one on one, they really drove it into me. Jason Christoph did, exactly how this part of my mind works. And since then, I've been doing as much research as possible to make myself an expert on this, even more than what I had already become from Jason. He shared a lot, because this information is so amazing at changing your life. So if you're looking at wanting to change your life, to stop self sabotage, to reprogram your subconscious mind, start working with the most powerful part of your mind instead of against it, so that you're not running into that wall, well, look no further. Click the link below, schedule your free strategy call, and we can get something started. I'd be love to speak with you, help you address the self-sabotaging actions you may have, whatever it may be, addictions, depressive thoughts, um, dating someone who's toxic over and over, a different person over and over, going back to an abusive relationship, um, eating unhealthy, not working out, you know, whatever it may be. It's all happening for a very specific reason, and this information can help it. I'm very confident of it, because I've helped many people before. This information has helped countless others. Just look at all my self-sabotage stories. They've all been influenced by this information or similar information. So I'm very confident this information can change your life. The only question is, are you going to let it change your life? Are you going to be the one to take the action? Because remember, you are the programmer. No one can do this for you. Other people can help you. Other people can be the catalyst for change. Other people can be the people that help boost your speed to get through this information, so that you don't have to go through the same struggles they did, or the same struggles I did. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Please like this, give it a share, comment down below if you found this interesting, if you have any questions, if you want a different podcast, me to talk about something specifically. Or if you don't want to put that in a comment, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I have my contact information down below. And once again, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. My name is Tanner Dagenet from Self-Sabotage Solutions, signing off.